hear it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lady Jade, and I am absolutely excited about our next panel. It's all about advocacy, right? And I am so excited to introduce you all to some amazing, amazing boss women who've learned to advocate for themselves, for their futures, for their careers, and we all need to learn to advocate, correct? So please, you guys, I am so excited. Thank you all for joining us. We have Miss Shay Watkins. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you. We have Dr. Vanetta Coleman. Hey, Dr. Coleman. We also have Miss Kim Allman joining us today, and one of the students of Spelman, looking so beautiful today, Miss Caitlin Carter. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, we're going to jump right into it, okay? I'm going to start with Shay and Dr. Coleman first. Tell me a little bit about your story and your career path and how we got to this point.
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and knew early on that I would go to an HBCU. So I went to Spelman. I graduated in 1991. I moved to New York and did accounting, finance at JP Morgan in New York, and realized I wanted to be part of a community. So I moved back to Atlanta in 1998 and did commercial banking and public policy work, and decided I wanted to run a nonprofit. So I did that. And now I am at Braven, which is a culmination of all the things I've done in my life. I am now advocating on behalf of the women of Spelman College and helping them to build career skills and learn how to tell their story through a course that we do at Spelman to help them make the bridge between higher education and a strong first job or going to graduate school. So I'm now advocating on behalf of them to make sure that they have the skills that they need and make sure that they get to the right place in terms of their career.
I love that. I love that. Dr. Coleman?
Yes, so my story is not at all like Shay's. I'm a preacher's kid. We moved around a lot growing up, but the last place I called home was New Jersey. Then I went to Spelman. I graduated and went to graduate school in industrial organizational psychology and went right into industry. So I was in HR consulting, management consulting, worked for Fortune 100 companies after that, and then changed direction and went into not-for-profit. And then there was the recession, so I got downsized for the first time in my life and decided to do that other thing I wanted to do growing up, which is to be a chef. So I went to culinary school. Yes, and then I realized that I don't like cooking for people I don't know, which is not an effective business model. So I reached out to my undergraduate advisor at Spelman, who was then the vice provost, and I joined Spelman 11 years ago, almost to the day. And I currently am Director of Institutional Effectiveness. And it really is full circle for me being back at Spelman and also being able to marry my experience in industry because I manage the Quality Enhancement Plan, which is Spelman Pathways, creating your path to life and career excellence. So I partner with, Braven has partnered with us to make sure that we are making everything possible for our Spelman graduates to land something that they really want to do when they graduate.
I love it. You know, your both of your brief stories show why advocacy is so important, because there's been so many shifts and redirecting and trying new things and things not working out, which we'll talk about, you know, how advocacy plays a part in that. And I want to talk about the partnership with Capital One too. But I do want to bring up something. We got a chance to talk offline. Shay, you mentioned how women are often boxed in, right? And we're not taught to tap into our gifts and talents. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Sure. I think, especially for Spelman women, there are a few things that your parents and grandparents tell you that they want you to do: be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, run a business. And so we tend to box ourselves into that. So our goal is definitely to make sure that the students know all of the options available to them. And then when they see the different options that are available, look at them and say, A, I have the skill sets to do that job. And B, even if I have 70%, 60%, 80%, I could still figure out how to do the job. We can't go look at positions and just say, oh, I don't have 100% of the skills, so I can't do it. We need to stop doing that and make sure that we look at it, apply our skill sets, and then say, you know what, I can do this. And if I need some support, I'll seek it out.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, which brings us to Kim. Let's talk about the partnership you guys have. Capital One with Braven and Spelman. What brought all of this together?
Yeah, so at Capital One, I am Senior Director of Community Impact and Investment, and I lead our corporate philanthropy and grant making with respect to financial well-being, racial equity, and social justice. Part of our racial equity strategy is around supporting just a wide variety of programs. We believe racial equity or racial inequities exist everywhere. And so we look and see how that work can connect to all the different work we are doing. One of those places where we have a focus is on education, and specifically supporting historically Black colleges and universities, as well as Hispanic serving institutions. And so a colleague of mine, and it was really a great collaboration within Capital One, one of my colleagues who has some expertise in education brought up Braven and said, hey, I think this may be a really great partnership as you're thinking about ways to provide support to these different types of schools. Learning about Braven, we were just so impressed. Their ability to bring social capital, networking, leadership to students who need it most. And I think people often forget about what they call the soft skills. They often forget how important that is with respect to helping individuals succeed and really move forward in their paths in life. And so when we started talking to Braven and heard that they were looking to partner with Spelman, it just seemed like a no-brainer. An organization like Braven that has noted impact, they've shown how they improve the lives of individuals, and an organization like Spelman, who we knew could implement and incorporate the structure that Braven puts into their work. Just very happy to support that type of partnership and collaboration.
You know, we're talking about Black Girl Magic as advocacy, right? And this right here, this is everybody advocating for each other. You all are a living, breathing example of advocacy and relationship. You and I got a chance to speak offline, Kim, about relationships. And you mentioned the importance of relationships. Because at one point you thought there was a path you were supposed to go down, but relationships taught you different, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I started my career as a corporate lawyer, so a bit different from my work now, still corporate, but in philanthropy, grant making, community partnerships. And I grew up really thinking that you put your head down and work, and that's how you will become successful. So I did well in high school so that I could get into a good college. I did well in college to get into a good law school. Same thing in law school to work at a large law firm where I felt like that was success. And just putting my head down and working got me to that place, but I wasn't happy. I realized that I wanted to have an impact in the world and in the community that I wasn't able to get just from putting my head down and working. And really just thinking about all the different things that I could do. You need those relationships, and they don't teach that to you. And that's why, Braven and the work that they're doing, I think, is so important. And so I learned a little bit later in life that I had to lift my head up, not just put my head down into the work, but make sure I'm building those relationships. I'm talking to individuals, I'm networking, and not just for me to get something, but I think that's important, how you help others, how they help you, how you connect with folks. And so, yeah, that was a really important lesson for me that has served me well. I wouldn't be here had I not realize the importance of those relationships and networking.
Right. It's funny, while I'm listening to you guys, I'm also watching Caitlin as she's soaking in all of this information. Like, oh my, I wish that I heard these conversations when I was in college like her. And we're going to talk to you about your experience with Braven in just a second, Caitlin, most definitely. But I have to ask Shay and Dr. Coleman, you spoke about the Braven curriculum. It's all the things, right? All of those core skills, operating, managing, problem solving, working in teams, networking. The things I wish I had when I was in school, right? Let's talk about why these are important for today's careers and, being resilient in the workforce.
Sure. I think just like Kim said, we were taught that you need to go to college, get good grades, and when you come out, everything will be fine. But that's not necessarily the case. And we are sometimes taught to put your head down and just do a good job and your work will be noticed. But that's not necessarily the case in today's society. Things are moving so quickly. There's so many different industries. So not only do you have to have a good job, do a good job and have the skills, but you also have to be able to communicate to people what your skills are. You need to be able to connect with people on a one-on-one basis. And like Kim said, build your network around you so that you can not only promote yourself and what you have the ability to do, but also to help promote others.
Yeah, so one of the things that's important about Spelman is that it's a liberal arts institution. So you don't come to Spelman and get a degree in finance or, like a ready-made connect this job with that sort of education. You do learn content, but we have been teaching these essential skills or core skills or soft skills forever. But it's been more something that is caught instead of taught. And so we're trying to be more intentional about teaching and making sure the students understand that these are the things that may not get you the job, but they're the things that help you stay in that job, help you grow in that job, and help you grow to the next job. So yes, we want you to be an excellent English major, but we also want you to be a critical thinker. And if one thing we know about what's going on with careers and jobs now is that your first job may be what your major was, but that has nothing to do with what your career is going to be. And it is in no way limiting to you. It's those foundational, essential skills that help you do whatever you want.
And I'll say this because you and I also spoke. All of these jobs you had earlier in your life, you've had so many experiences. You mentioned that you've never gotten a job by filling out a job application.
No. I've never filled out a job application to get a job.
All relationship based.
All relationship
Which is
based.
why, again, you are a testimony of advocacy. That's amazing. Look, congratulations. There's a lot of women out there like, well, lucky her, because I am on Indeed.com right now, okay?
Every conversation is a connection. Every conversation is a job interview. And that's not to put pressure, but it's to say, you are showing up as you. You have to be sure that you're showing up as you because that's what people are going to remember.
And always be sure to show up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
What they say, if you
I'm not
stay
a
ready, you don't have
wallflower.
to get ready. Yeah. I love that. All right, well, Caitlin, we got to talk to you. You have actually experienced Braven firsthand recently, correct?
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What did you learn in the program, and how do you think it's going to shape your future in success?
Braven taught me how to use my voice in my school and how to advocate for myself when it comes to internships and just my next steps outside of college. So one example of that is I'm a part of my school's dance team, Mahogany Emotion, and as a rookie, I saw things that I felt like would be great tools to add to our dance team and help us reach the next step. And so I suggested, perhaps we should have a media team so they could take pictures and videos of us at the games and raise our Instagram followers because we have about 15.8K. And doing that,
which is actually really good. I love it.
And so in doing that, that raised our engagement up to 265%. And so in doing so, I felt like Braven taught me how to use my voice and use my organization and management skills and to make sure that ran smoothly, as well as to just be involved in all my organizations. I'm a firm believer that once I join a certain organization, I put my best foot forward and I'm not just a standstill bystander, if that makes sense. And so Braven taught me to make those connections with those people and continue to build a network.
I hope everyone on this panel is so proud because the partnership is building future leaders just like Caitlin, which is amazing. Again, when I was your age, I wish I understood the importance of advocating for myself and speaking up. And so, look, we can't wait to see what happens, Caitlin. That's so amazing. I was doing a little research, so I decided to look up advocacy. And so I found an unofficial definition that I really loved. It is getting support from another person to help you express your views and wishes and help you stand up for your rights, because we all need each other, right? There are so many women that are watching today that are trying to find that voice that now you've tapped into, that voice that we've learned over the years, we've lost, we've regained. So what would you say to those women, Kim, I'll start with you, that are trying to find that inner voice, trying to advocate for themselves?
I would say part of it is, I think, understanding really what you want and what you're looking for. Understanding that it may take some work, that advocacy is not necessarily easy, but it's worth it. And so figuring out what you want, but also we're talking about networks, tapping into your network and leveraging that. Speaking to friends, colleagues who may be able to help you speak up and help you find your voice. A reminder that none of us do this alone. We all do it with help from others, and to not forget that. And so if you are trying to advocate for yourself and realizing it's difficult, to think about who can you talk to about that? Who can help support you? How can you support other individuals as well, friends, colleagues? And so I think often thinking about it as a group effort or a team effort. Knowing yourself, but also making sure you're making those connections.
I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shay?
I thought I wanted a different job, and so I tried to advocate for myself to do that, but I didn't really want that job. So I didn't get that job because I didn't know the language to use to advocate for it. But then years later, there was another position that I really wanted. I was very clear about how my skills met that job, and I was able to advocate for myself. So just like Kim said, it's understanding what the position is that you're trying to advocate for, what your skills are to be able to meet that need, and to be able to have passion about shouting from the rooftops about why you are the best person for that role.
Thank you. I love that. I love that. Dr. Coleman?
I think advocacy for me, when I've really leveraged it, it's always been about my networks. You talked about how I never filled out a job application. It's because I don't drop people. So I have people from Spelman, and Spelman women are everywhere. So I have like a board of directors. So there's my classmates, that sit on the board. There's that professor I told you about who's been my guidance all through graduate school and my career, and family. So I think that you want to be around people who can sing your song when you forget the melody and remind you of your greatness. When you're having that moment where you're thinking, how could I do that? Maybe I'm not qualified. My friends regularly look at me and just laugh in my face like, did you say you weren't qualified for something? And so, you have to have people who will pull you. And then some will say, you need to wipe behind your ear, clean that up a little bit, and, be there for you to let you know, you're good now. You've cleaned that, you've learned that. So remind you of your greatness, help you bounce those ideas off about where you want to go next.
So we're talking about advocacy and the importance of advocating for ourselves. I want to hear from each of you how you advocated for someone else and what a difference that made for you. Someone told me years ago, and this was not necessarily in business, it was in relationships. She said, as Black women, we are to be advocating for each other when the other person is not around. They say people will mention your name in rooms when you're not there. And that's a lot of times where opportunities come from. So can you recall a time where you actually advocated for someone and it may have been life-changing for them?
I can. So I work at Spelman, and we had someone that joined a team, and a team adjacent to me. And I really started to think about myself like, what role am I playing, like the person who was my advocate in the institution. And so I knew that she was kind of trying to feel her way. And so I spoke of her in rooms where she wasn't there. I suggested that she be a part of different activities she didn't even know that she was being voluntold to participate in. And she started to get noticed in the organization and came to me and was like, well, how did this happen? I said, well, I told them to put you there. She was like, what? And so, but I said, but you're ready for that. And this is how this organization works. I mean, these are the rules, but this is how it really works. And these are the people you really need to know. And she has flourished in the organization. I advocated for her to be a part of a partnership that we had with Braven, like a special to the side hustle sort of thing. And, is now really in a position where she can call her own shots as far as what she wants to do next. With Spelman or outside of Spelman, she's getting to understand her full worth and not being shy about taking that risk and stepping out and doing that thing that's uncomfortable to her.
You advocating for her built the self-worth. Because sometimes when you hear others advocate for you, you're like, me? Really? This is what you think of me? Because others see you the way that you may not see yourself. Have you all been advocated for? Has anybody advocated for you to help you get to where you are? Can we talk about that? Caitlin, I'm going to start with you. When has someone advocated for you?
When someone advocated for me, it was towards me being a student ambassador at my school. One of my good close friends, she suggested that I would be really good at that just because of my engagement with the audience and just my knowledge of Spelman's history in doing so. And so like when we went into like the interview process of like being selected and stuff, she was like, I think Caitlin would be a really great fit. And like I'm really grateful for her for that, because in doing so, being a student ambassador, it's like taught me how to like network and like relate to the audience and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, like, again, when you're advocating, when someone speaks up on your behalf, sometimes it's that little push that you needed to go to the next level and to keep pushing and going forward. Kim, has anyone ever stepped in for you when you least expected it?
Yeah, several times. One example, I went to Duke for undergrad and recently wrapped up participation on Duke New York's Women's Forum. And, you know, I got a call out of the blue one day, someone saying, hey, we are interested in you serving on this committee, which, builds networking and programming for Duke women in New York. And I learned later that, it wasn't just out of the blue. Someone, I had spoken on a panel about financial well-being, which is one of my areas of expertise. And they saw what I was doing and saw that I was committed to certain things and put my name out there. And it was a great experience being able to, help bring other people also into that organization, be a leader for my alumni network. You just don't always know, but oftentimes, you find out that people are saying great things about you and putting your name out there so that, you can do more things and then hopefully bring others along with you.
Which sometimes you learn the hard way, right? You learn the tough way when you don't appreciate relationships. And then, that can kind of backfire on you. And then you learn, I always have to show up, as you said earlier. I always have to treat people with kindness. I never can ruin relationships. I take people with me, which I love. Shay, what about you?
You especially have to understand your environment, because I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and Atlanta is a very relationship-driven town. So I look at some people like on Twitter where you have a blue check mark, meaning you've been verified. Sometimes you have to go through a process of building relationships to be verified. And all of a sudden your name is mentioned in more and more rooms, and then you can turn around and mention other names in those rooms. So when I made the transition from banking to public policy, that was because somebody mentioned my name to somebody at the Metro Atlanta Chamber and completely changed the trajectory of my career.
I love that. And the founder of Boss Women Media, Marty McDonald, she advocates for Black women. This is why we're all sitting here. People are hearing your story. Now they know you, not only for Dr. Coleman or for our titles. They're getting to learn to know us. And our stories is what really, truly makes a difference in their lives. And so not only will they be seeking others to advocate for them, now they will also know the importance of lifting as you rise, as that's one of Marty McDonald's quotes, and being an advocate for someone else.
Absolutely. It's essential.
What a dynamic partnership. Capital One, Braven, Spelman, all the things, right? I think this is great. I told you all would be so inspired by this conversation today. I really appreciate you all sharing your stories, opening up. Kim, I love what you said when you said, advocate for yourself, but also as Black women, we have to advocate for each other.
Absolutely.
We really do. Thank you all for an incredible conversation. For all my boss women at home, thank you all for joining in. I told you would be inspired. Thank you to Capital One. So if you want to learn more about this incredible partnership and more, all you have to do is visit CapitalOne.com/about/our commitments. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.